There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. I am your intrepid host, L.A. Marzulli. Groundbreaking information, startling information, and we'll get into this. It's about the Great Pyramid of Giza, and I just can't wait to dive into this. But first, a word from our very trusted sponsor. As we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned, it's that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans just like you protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, nobody knows what 2026 will bring. One thing is for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. When you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember, the best gift you can give isn't under the tree. It's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers, peace of mind. 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Get your free wealth protection kit today. noblegoldinvestments.com. Don't leave the future to chance. Peggy and I have invested some of our money in Noble Gold, and I got to tell you, folks, we're really glad we did. However, as with any investment, there's always a risk. Please weigh the risks and carefully consider investing in Noble Gold. Once again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. We invested, and I'm really glad we did. I'm reading from John, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, Kremins, forgive me for this, but this is from X, and I just want to thank him for posting this. The Giza Pyramid's origin take an unsuspected turn. So for years, let me just set this up. For years, we were told that the Egyptians built the pyramids. Those of us who looked at the information said, not so fast, innocent, somebody else built these things. Zawi Hawass, with all due respect to Zawi Hawass has stated, pyramid for decades. Zawi Hawass insists that the Egyptians built the pyramids. I kept going, not so fast, Zawi, with all due respect, sir. The mathematics, the engineering, what's going on here, somebody else built these things. Somebody else. Then you get the whole ancient astronaut crowd, that ancient astronauts built these. IEET came in. The Christian crowd goes, well, this is the Pillar of Enoch. Other people like myself go, not so fast, citizen. Maybe this is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. Maybe this created the grid that was on a global level before the flood. Maybe. Conjecture on my part. See, we don't know. We just don't know. And this is what's problematic with all this, because there is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. Now why are they revealing this now? You know, what about Zawi Hawass telling us over and over and over again that, the Egyptians built the pyramids? So what I'm going to do, John, I'm going to take a screenshot here, and that way you guys can see it. Yeah. Now I'm going to go to the next slide. But before I do, listen to this. The Giza's pyramid origin take an unsuspecting turn. Advanced scans in 2025 have uncovered an astonishing underground complex beneath the Khafre Pyramid. That's the largest one. Researchers found 5 multi-level structures linked by pathways, 8 deep cylindrical wells plunging 648 meters. Think of that. Just get your head around that. How was that done in the ancient world, Mr. Hawass? Oh, wait a minute, it wasn't. Thank you very much. 8 deep cylindrical wells plunging 648 meters and 2 massive cubic chambers spanning 2 kilometers under the Giza Plateau. Fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture? Could this be evidence of an even more advanced civilization that is responsible for the structures? It would be interesting to see if the other pyramid-like structures in other parts of the globe have the same type of structures beneath them. Time will tell. And in my opinion, this is what we're going to find. There was a grid. We talked about that in Watchers. If you want to go, you can stream it, streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. You want Watchers 6, The Secret Cosmic War, where Richard Shaw, my late business partner, and I had this cosmic download in the city of Cusco, 12,000 feet above sea level, where we had just visited the megalithic walls in Peru. It's all in the film, and we were just blown away by what we were seeing. And we realized there was a grid system. At the time, I was reading Grid of the Gods, and all of a sudden, everything just went, oh my gosh, there was a grid system that covered the planet. Now, and of course, this is pseudo-archaeology, remember that. Pseudo-archaeology, LA, you're a pseudo-archaeologist, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me, archaeology has been stating for decades, right, that, nothing you see here, just keep moving, that all the stuff we see in the Americas and all over the world, we have explanations for it. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And now let me just jump in here real quick. When you go to some of the places that I have been to, like Sacsayhuaman, clearly the Inca had nothing to do with this. When you go to Goga Raphaim, it begs the question, why take 40,000 tons of basalt rock and put them in concentric circles? When you go to Menga, Spain, and we film there, and you see the largest dolmen cap on the planet, this thing is huge. How is it moved, and why? And why are all the stones in the chamber slightly angled? Why is it that when you go to Zambujaro in Portugal, you see the same type of dolmen structure with a huge cap on it, and the stones are angled like this? We have a right to know what's going on. The American people, remember, these museums that are all around us are mostly funded by taxpayer dollars. We are presenting a petition. It's not ready yet. Hopefully it might be up tomorrow, and you'll be able to sign that, because we want to know what's in these museums, because they're funded by our taxpayer dollars. We have a right to know. So let's move on to the next slide. What we are looking at here, and I'll take a screenshot. This is a artist depiction of what this looks like. And you can see that there's, it's a very complex structure. It's a machine. I believe it was the Giza power plant. The question is, who built it? Do I believe E.T. built it? No, not in a million years. So who's left? Fallen angels or good angels? In my opinion, this is why the flood happened and this was all destroyed. Because God just, if the good angels built it, God's just not going to wipe this thing out. In my opinion, this is fallen angel technology. Now, that's conjecture on my part. Nephilim architecture. This is unbelievable. It rewrites history. It truly rewrites history in ways that are just mind-boggling. And I'll say it again. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And that's why I'm on the trail. So bully for these folks for coming out with this synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. So what's happening reveals details, undiscovered high-resolution internal structure of the Great Pyramid. Okay, we get that. What you're looking at, you couldn't do this, 50 years ago. It didn't exist. The technology. Knowledge will increase. Men will run to and fro over the face of the earth. Daniel 2:43, right? Knowledge will increase. Men will run to and fro over this is exactly what we're looking at. Knowledge increases. And as knowledge increases for the first time in thousands of years, we are penetrating, no pun intended, what lies beneath. And what we see is an advanced, very advanced technology. And in my opinion, it's not from ET, it's fallen angel technology. Let's continue.
Developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga, called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. So this was used to explore the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution, full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock.
Folks, I'm on fire today because what we're seeing is just so over-the-top groundbreaking. And I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. People will take this data and say, ha-ha, proof of extraterrestrials. This is where it's going. Make no mistake about it. This is how they're going to spin it. But there's another theory here, and that theory is this. There's another paradigm to embrace, and that paradigm is a biblical prophetic paradigm, which states that fallen angels created this stuff. What we're looking at, fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. Let's continue.
In fact, over 6 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers, massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far. Utilizing high-resolution radar images from Capella Space and Umbra, which are 2 private companies that specialize in satellite-based synthetic, descending to an astonishing depth of 628 meters. Even more intriguing, at the base of these structures are 2 massive cubic formations measuring approximately 80 meters in diameter. The tomographic data suggests that these are vertical wells with intricate spiral pathways.
I mean, could you do this today? I'm wondering, sure, on some level. But you go back thousands of years, how was this done? So we're looking at something that's been hidden from us.
So let's utilize a functional purpose, but also a level of sophisticated engineering that completely blows the dynastic Egypt. I mean, the pyramid itself was already a massive red flag in the ancient Egyptian historical narrative. But now, with this discovery, I think it's become impossible to say that the Egyptian civilizations that we understand, that we've been taught about, were responsible for building these structures. And
in Peter Tompkins' book, Secret of the Great Pyramids, he talks about this, the mathematical precision, the idea that this pyramid, if you take the land masses in the oceans and you divide the land masses and put a center, a point where all the land masses would be equal, that's what the Great Pyramid is. The mathematics alone for the Great Pyramid are absolutely astonishing. The fact that the bedrock is basically level for all practical purposes. How was that done? Millions of blocks, put in there with absolute precision. We're looking at technology that is profound, and now it's coming out. And I'm going to give you the punchline in a little bit. Bear with me here, because all this is now being revealed. Why? Because we're in the last of the last days. That's why this stuff is being revealed for the first time. So here's the bottom line for me, folks. I think we're living in a window of time where these things are being revealed for the first time in history. We're being told, we're getting glimpses of the truth, which completely blows away the standard archaeological narrative. And, you get all these guys coming up, oh, this is conspiracy theory, no civilization, blah, blah, the Egyptians did it, da, 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 da. And I hear this over and over and over again. Oh, it's the Hopewell Indians who built all these mounds. Oh, the Shawnee built the Octagon Mound. And somehow they figured out the 18-and-a-half-year lunar cycle, Metonic cycle, which sits in the gateway of the Octagon Mound. How is it? No. We're looking at advanced mathematics, advanced engineering. We're looking at a lost civilization. And what's interesting is we don't get the same technology that we do at Giza over here with the mounds, but we get technology. So something is going on. And here's the punchline. Are we, and it's conjecture, it's a question, are we in a window of time, the end times, the last of the last days, where finally, after thousands of years, these secrets which have been deliberately hidden, deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, are now coming forward? In my opinion, it's a resounding yes. That's exactly what we are looking at. So here's the city. Scientists have discovered vast city underneath Egypt's Giza Pyramid, reveal new secrets about mysterious structures. So the mystery of an underground city beneath Egypt's pyramid deepens as scientists have shared new details about what may lie more than 4,000 feet below the surface. A team of Italian researchers claim they uncovered giant vertical shafts wrapped in spiral staircases and a massive limestone platform containing 2 enormous chambers with descending channels resembling pipelines. During a news briefing released Saturday, so this is yesterday, the researchers said a water system had been identified beneath the platform, located more than 2,100 feet below the Khafre Pyramid, with underground pathways leading even deeper into the earth. The team used radar pulses to create high-resolution images deep into the ground beneath the structures, the same way sonar radar is used to map the depths of the ocean. So it goes on from there. While the bombshell claims have been dismissed by other experts as false and exaggerated, the team believes there was an entire hidden world of many structures more than 2,000 feet below the water system. So, I mean, right off the bat, when they released this thing, and I said, I don't know what I'm looking at here. If it's almost too good to be true. If it is true, you can say goodbye to Egyptology as we know it. But already the pushback begins. Why? Because it completely rewrites history. It points to something that has to be otherworldly, because people 4,000 years ago couldn't construct anything like it. I had a long talk with Gary Stearman yesterday, as a matter of fact, on Saturday. And we both believe that the Great Pyramid is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. I believe it was part of a grid system, the Giza power plant, which may have enacted other places throughout the globe. So this is the, while the bombshell claims have been dismissed by other experts as false and exaggerated, the team believes there's an entire hidden world of many structures more than 2,000 feet below the water system. When we magnify the images, in the future, we will reveal that beneath it lies what can only be described as a true underground city. So these guys, these scientists, Corrado Malanga and others from the University of Pisa, I mean, this isn't Elmer Fudd. They've spent a lot of money on this, and they're breaking the story. The scientist's work, which has not been peer-reviewed by independent researchers, has also suggested the Pyramid of Khafre might conceal undiscovered secrets, notably the fabled Hall of Records. That the Hall of Records is supposedly a hidden chamber. I'm going to just scroll down. This is what they're saying. These vertical shafts, they descend to 2,100 feet. This is a map of where it is. What's interesting about the Khafre Pyramid, if you were to take the land masses, all the land masses, and put them together, okay, that pyramid, right where it is dead center of all. If you were to divide the land masses equally, that's the dead center. So, I mean, it's absolutely pretty incredible when you think about it. Let me see here. So here's a shot of what they're saying they've discovered right here. And there's my cursor. So you can see, so, here is the base of the pyramid right here. And then we've got, that's the pyramid. So underneath, you've got these shafts which go down, these cylindrical shafts with a spiral. If this is true, if it holds up to scrutiny, to peer review, to scientific scrutiny, then we are looking at really the most startling archaeological find ever, because what it does is it points to a hidden history. It rewrites history as we know it, and it shows that there's some outside agency. So what I'm very cautious with is the other side of the aisle, i.e. the New Agers, the ancient alien astronaut theorists, right? They'll immediately go, ha-ha, conclusive proof that this was built by E.T., not so fast, citizen. So here we've got the radar right here, and you can see the vertical shaft. So something is going on there for sure, and this is what it looks like. During the press briefing, the team explained that they sent radar signals from 2 satellites positioned about 420 miles above the Earth into the Khafre Pyramid, allowing them to analyze how the signals bounce back. Pictured are hidden structures identified inside the pyramid. And then here we've got a vast city beneath the pyramid. And here's the team right here. These are the researchers. So again, I mean, these people are putting their own careers on the line. I don't believe that they're making this up. I really don't. Could the data be skewed? Absolutely. That's why we got to wait. So that's where we are as of the 23rd of March. Ancient megalithic structures, Nephilim architecture. What you're looking at here is Saxe-Waman. And you'll see on the left-hand the lower left, you'll see someone walking in front of these stones. Now, I believe this structure is pre-flood. I really do. I know my colleague and friend Tim Alberino also believes that this Sacsayhuaman in Peru, near Cusco, about 12,000 feet above sea level, is also pre-flood. So it's another shot of it. We were there, I believe, in 2013. This led to our film, in Watchers 6, The Secret Cosmic War. You can stream that, streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. So what you're looking at here is the most enigmatic wall I have ever seen. In other words, we really don't understand what this is used for. We just don't. But it's here, and you look at the people, just how small they are in comparison to these huge megalithic walls. That's a shot from far away. The first time we were there, Brian Forrester took us, and we came up over this little hill, as you can see here, and I just sat there. I couldn't believe it. In the background, you see Cusco, the city of Cusco. Ancient megalithic site. Look at the stonework here. And some of you, you've seen this presentation, but I haven't given it in probably over a decade because there's always new work. To the right of the screen, that's Ron Moorhead shooting a video there. Look at the polygonal shapes. And this has been sitting there for thousands of years. The Inca did not do this. And we've shown this before. You can't cut andesite stone with a copper chisel. You can't do it. Another close-up of the incredible enigmatic stone structures of Sacsayhuaman. Now, why do this? You'll notice no two stones are alike. They are all completely different. And that's Irene, Brian's wife. And you can see she's about 5'4", 5'6". Look at these huge megalithic stones. And it's andesite. So Brian Forrester taught us this on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, andesite's about a 7, diamond 10 being the hardest. So if a copper chisel, which is much softer than andesite, and we've shown this before, can't cut the stone, then how was it done? And this is why there's a hidden history. This is why this Giza Plateau thing is so important. If it bears up to scrutiny. Let's move on. There's another shot. Now here you see the lower stones, the foundation, put together seamlessly. And then above it, you see headside stones put together with mortar. They are two completely different builders. These were not done by the same people group. No stinking way. Absolutely not. In fact, I would even go out on a limb that you can't reproduce that today. This is the gateway to the Sacred Valley. To the right of this gateway, you see the Inca stonework, and it's really good. I'd love to have a wall like this on my property. But to the left, you see the ancient megalithic structure where the stones are seamlessly put together. These are the two stones that are thrown down from the site in Ollantaytambo, that when you go into the Sacred Valley, Ollantaytambo, and you can see, what are we looking at here? Is this some sort of machine? In my opinion, it was. You just don't get up on a Monday morning and start carving things like this. These stones were thrown down because this is the valley floor, and the actual temple site, they call it a temple, the actual site where these stones came from is very much higher. And this whole thing has been thrown down, and you'll see it in just a minute, by some sort of a cataclysmic event. If you look really carefully at this, and let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit better and try to, I don't think I can, but I'll try. No, I can't. When we saw the hole, you can actually see the turn in that hole from the drill marks. So whatever this drill is, it's going through the andesite stone very quickly. It's not encumbered. And as you climb the steps and you get to the top where this edifice, whatever it was, this is what you see. Megalithic stonework, highly polished stones, all andesite. Look at the way they're put together. This is the retaining wall, which is left intact on top of the site at Ollantaytambo. And you can see it's leaning like this. That's how you build a retaining wall. You don't do it straight. You angle it this way to hold everything back. And when you angle it that way, you've got weight against the hillside. Down below, look to your left, that's the valley. That's the valley. So then you get cuts in the stone like this. Why do this? Now, I've talked to woodworkers. If you give me 3 pine blocks, let's say 2 foot by 2 foot, each one, right? Nice big square, and you go make this. Well, I've got jigsaws and bandsaws and routers and all this other stuff in modernity, but it's pine blocks. I got to sand, I got to cut. Could I do that? Yeah, but this is andesite stone. And why? Because they can do it. They're not sweating it, folks. The technology used in this construction, as well as in Giza, if it bears up to scrutiny, is by far in advance of anything we have on the planet right now. Now you're on top of the temple complex, or let's just call it the complex. And I remember Richard Shaw, my late business partner, and I looking at this going, my gosh, why do this? In other words, they've chipped away all the stone except for this one horizontal bar. Why? We don't know. It's very enigmatic. These are the standing stones which are still remain to this day. It's all that's left, really, of Ollantaytambo. And, what purpose do they have? We have no idea. None at all. These are the plinths that are between these huge megalithic stones. And this area is very prone to seismic activity. And so when you see this, these plinths in between these stones are there to alleviate some of the stress from an earthquake. This is a shot from this position right here, looking back at the so-called Sacred Valley. So that's Brian Forrester. That is the Sacred Valley. That's the place of Ollantaytambo. To your left, on the very bottom corner, is where those 2 standing stones, and you can see something very cataclysmic has happened here. Everything is thrown down. Why? And when the Inca got there, this is what they found. They were the first people there, as far as we know. This is what they discovered. Something cataclysmic, like a great flood. In my opinion, it was. Was it part, and here's where I'm going. Was this part of an ancient grid system? In my opinion, absolutely it was. Let's continue. America Stonehenge. So here's the sacrificial table at America Stonehenge. And when you're in the center there, the equinoxes and the solstices point to different places across the planet. So when you're there, you can see right that little line going up. That's the center of the henge. And you go out to the summer solstice standing stone. When you continue that line, you wind up bifurcating the 2 trilithons at Stonehenge, England. You can't do that. You've got to, unless you're in the air, you've got to triangulate from the air. This is advanced trigonometry. It's spherical trigonometry, which is way above my pay grade, and I have no idea how that works. But that's what I was told you're looking at in order to do this. Now, mainstream archaeology, it's just a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, because when we go back here to other sites, as you can see, the winter solstice, May Day, the equinoxes, it points to different places. Chaco Canyon, Teotihuacan, Mexico, Machu Picchu in Peru, the Canary Islands, the Pyramid in Giza, and of course Stonehenge. So there's a connectivity between ancient sites like this. And why this goes in the face of modern day archaeology is because modern day archaeology are all isolationists for the most part. And an isolationist says, well, you have this little group of people over here and they're just basically going to sit there. So they're in isolation, and they don't travel, they don't run around. Thor Heyerdahl proved this, and most of you have heard me talk about this. He built a replica of a papyrus boat. Thor Heyerdahl built a replica of a papyrus boat and sailed from the Straits of Gibraltar, roughly, to the New World without a compass. Just put up that sail, he's in the New World, he lands on the island of Barbados, showing conclusively that it could have been done thousands of years ago. That line, you can see the 2 trilithons at Stonehenge, England, and it bifurcates them absolutely perfectly. When you continue that line, you wind up in Beirut, the home of the Canaanites. Think about that. Let that sink in. There it is right there. And what's interesting, it's very close to Baalbek in the north, and Gilgal Raphaim in the south. Does that mean anything? I don't know, but I think it's very, very deliberate. And it's basically, there's Mount Hermon right there, which all the mischief starts. And by the way, the Israelis now have taken all of Mount Hermon and pushed into Syria. If we ever get to go back, and I'm not going back because they're still bombing the northern part of Israel as of today, as of March 23rd, rockets are still coming over. How can I take 50 people on a bus? I'm just not going to do it. Just not going to do it. So when we get there, we might be able to go, if we ever get there, if we're allowed to go back, and I feel it's safe, we might be able to see these ancient cities that were in Syria with these huge doorways and huge ceilings. They were for the giants. This is Nephilim Central, in my opinion. This is near Gilgal Raphaim. There's a film on that, on the Trail of a Nephilim, and you can see Mount Hermon, Gilgal Raphaim in the south of that line. To the north of the line is Baalbek. They are exactly 40.5 miles apart from that line. What does that mean? I don't know, but I find it really interesting and also very, very deliberate. Then we've got the Great Circle Mound in Newark, Ohio. And I just believe, let me go back to you there. I should read this. The precise shapes and sizes of the Newark mounds testify to the Hopewell people's understanding of geometry and measurement. Stop right there. Hopewell people is a name foisted on whoever built this thing. Hopewell's a farmer. So right off the bat, they're throwing a narrative that they're just making up. A large number of people were involved who, despite the sparseness of their lives, were motivated by forces other than coercion, since there was no record of slavery among the Hopewells. And because their culture had no hard metals or wheels, they likely dug earth with wooden sticks and moved it in woven baskets. This is the prevailing narrative. Neither the Stadens, these are the explorers, nor any of those who came later to marvel at these discoveries in the earthworks, could more than guess about who had built them or for what purpose. Even the Native Americans living there could offer no answer. So why is that? If they're First Nation people, then they're First Nation. But if someone is there, if there's another civilization that's there beforehand, then what are we really looking at? We have a film coming out, Gil Zimmerman and I. We filmed it, it'll actually be 2 years ago this August, so we're way behind. And this is another reason why I'm not traveling and I've canceled 6 conferences. I need to focus on what matters. And it's great going to meet the people and traveling and seeing people and speaking. I get that. And we're still doing some conferences, but we pulled way back. We need to focus on the films that we have that we need to get out. Now, Gil Zimmerman, my business partner, was here last week, and we definitely moved the ball further down the field with the Shroud of Turin Holy Fire Fill. We're getting close to getting that finished. Probably by the end of April, we're looking at a release. And then we go right into On the Trail of a Nephilim #9. We've already got all the footage for that. We're ready to get that out. So look at where I've highlighted this. Even the Native Americans living there could offer no answers. It was here when we got there. But we hear from mainstream archaeology, oh, well, they just forgot that they had built these sites. What's the truth? What is the truth? Well, this is why this whole Giza plateau thing, in my opinion, is absolutely critical. If it holds up to scrutiny, holds up to peer review, it rewrites history. And I pray it holds up, but we'll see. So here I am. Actually, I think that's Fritz. That's Fritz Zimmerman at the gateway to the Newark Circle Mound, which is all part of the Newark Earthworks. The Octagon Mound, the smaller circle, and then it leads to this huge site. And, you know, when you're there, you just kind of look at it and go, wow. Plus the moat that goes around is basically level, and that's in our film, On the Trail of a Nephilim. That's a shot of the Circle Mound and the moat that goes all the way around the Great Circle Mound. You can see it right there. I mean, seriously, how is this done? And we're told Native Americans with stone hoes and digging sticks and all this stuff. Because if it's not Native Americans, then who did it? And this is why I call it in particularly, fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. And there is definitely a connectivity to all these ancient sites globally. So this research has revealed that the prehistoric cultures in the area had advanced scientific understanding as the basis of their complex construction. So that's basically the party line. So something is going on here, and I don't believe the Shawnee built it, but that's where I'm at. So the Octagon Mound, and I want you to just skip down to the lower part. The Octagon Mound is built on an 18-and-a-half-year metonic cycle or lunar cycle. How is that possible? So we're going to show this in the film because this is astounding. Why build this octagon, which is an unequal octagon that encompasses 50 acres? How do you check your work? How can you possibly check your work? How do you build something like this? And if Native Americans don't know about the 18-and-a-half-year lunar cycle, then they don't know about it. And that's not to disparage First Nation people or Native Americans. But if they didn't do it, who did? We are looking at advanced geometry in the octagon now. It's a complex octagon. And in our film, we're going to show you just how complex it is. Now, this is important. This is Silistani. It's near Lake Titicaca on the border of Peru and Bolivia. These towers are huge. The remnants of them still dot the landscape. No one knows what they are. Modern-day archaeologists insist that these are funerary. I've crawled inside one. They are not funerary. They're not built to house the body of someone. So welcome to Silistani. Thank you very much. And the party line is, it's a complex area used for funerary purposes. That's the party line. But we're not buying the party line. Now, you'll notice that this is a conical tower. It's like this. So it's narrow at the bottom, and for every centimeter, for every half inch, for every eighth of an inch you go up, your radius is changing. How was that done? This is basalt rock, which is pretty hard. Again, can copper chisels do it? I don't think so. And you'll notice the complexity of this tower. Now, this is what the Inca came up with. So the Inca see this, and this is what they do. They take head-sized boulders, and it's nice stonework. I get that. But it's not this. We're looking at two different builders. When we went there, all the batteries in our cameras just completely drained. This is the foundation of one of these sites. Look at the way the stone, the foundation stone, goes like this, and then it goes up to the berm. I mean, are you kidding me? And Chase Klotsky walked into the center of this thing. All of her batteries were drained like that. She did it twice. So we've seen this before. We saw it in Roswell. Something is going on. So you're looking at the Silistani Tower. Something cataclysmic happened. Something blew this thing apart. A flood? I don't know. What were these towers? Some sort of a relay for some sort of energy? That's speculation. We don't know. You see the stones up on top, the way they're hollowed out? What are we looking at? Then you get things like this. There's another shot of it. So you can see the stones all around it. This thing was blown apart. Something very intense happened. So what you're seeing in the center is cement and head-sized boulders done in modernity to hold the tower intact. Look at this. Look at the size of this. And now you see the hollowed out core of the stones. This is where we crawled in at the base. Look at the absolute precision of the stonework. Give you an idea of size. They're really tall. And notice they're like this, narrower at the bottom, wider at the top. So as a stonemason, I'm not, but I've talked to stonemasons. This is really hard to do. You've got to create some sort of a form. How do you do this? The math involved is unbelievable. And yet we see that the tower is constructed with great precision. Then we see these same nodules coming out of the stone. I believe that this is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. You'll notice the nodes on the left-hand side on the gateway to the Sacred Valley. There it is at Silistani, and here it is at the gateway to the Sacred Valley. And this is what it looks like from this tower right here when you look out and you see this. Notice that island is completely flat. How was that done? That's not natural. That's not natural. And we wanted to, there's only so much resources, but we wanted to get over there and walk around and see, was this done by machines? Is this natural? How is it so flat? And we don't have an answer to it. Then you get pieces of the stone which are thrown down from the Silistani towers, and you see holes like this. What was this for? You see basins like this with an opening. So material comes in and then it goes out in the front where that hole is. And then here I am at Pumapunku, thousands of feet above sea level. What the heck is this? And you'll see just the huge foundation, which is dead level. absolutely dead level. And then in the background, you see the H blocks, what they're called, and they're being held up. What's this? Why is it there? What are all these holes and apertures in this stonework? No one has any idea. What's this? In my opinion, this was part of some sort of a machine. So last week, Janine Abdel Masai and her team uncovered a further monolith that sits virtually underneath the stone of the pregnant woman that was once destined for the main temple site. Where are we talking about? Baalbek. So check this out. This is it. So the stone to your right, that is called the stone of the pregnant woman. Up until this archaeologist said, maybe we should dig around and see if there's anything below this thing. They find two more stones, which are larger than the stone at Baalbek. And it's like, why is it there? Why is it left? Because the flood happened and wiped the whole thing away. The temple at Baalbek in Lebanon. Just let that sink in, right? It's unbelievable. Baalbek. And here we are. Look at the people on the left-hand side, right to the center of the screen. Look at the size of the stone. Absolutely humongous. And yet, beneath that are two stones which are larger. How were they moved? How was it done? There were no cranes. Did they levitate them? In my opinion, you bet. Or maybe you get 50 giants just picking the thing up. Because a Nephilim is a hybrid entity. It's part human being, part fallen angel. So we're looking at the supernatural. Here we've got the Giza power plant, circling back to where we were. Christopher Dunn, I have his book in my library, Technologies of Ancient Egypt, and he knew something was up with the Giza. He calls it the Giza power plant. Here's another shot, the History Channel of this thing may have just lit up the grid, And here we've got the points. The theory there was an ancient grid system that covered the earth in the days of Noah. This was why they were here. They established all this stuff, all these ancient sites, and a point of contact, everything, the energy came out from the pyramid at Giza and maybe other places. We don't know. It's conjecture. But there was, in our opinion, a planetary grid system, and this is kind of what it looks like. You'll notice that if you take these lines that come out like this, and when you look at the pyramid, Gary Stewart and I were talking about this, one side of the pyramid, it's not a flat side. It goes in a little like this. It's indented. So you've got actually 8 sides of the Great Pyramid. Count the spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Gary believes, as I do, when that pyramid was functioning, because the face is indented slightly. So it's not a straight face. It's not a 4-sided pyramid. It's an 8-sided pyramid, which is exactly what that shows. And we didn't know that until pretty much modernity. And when you get the casing stones that were there, it must have been absolutely incredible. This is what the New Ages are saying. And this is why this is so important. The mission of awakening consciousness. Always look deeper within, find the others, awaken the others, transform reality. We are building a network of enlightened beings. Light up the grid. That's what they're going to say. And I'm saying this now because I'm warning the church, I'm warning you that if this Giza Plateau discovery holds water, holds up under scrutiny, and they start, we need to dig, we need to find out, we need to check this out. If they find out it's true, immediately the ancient astronaut theorists are going to say, ha, that's who did it. That's who did it. See, it's alien technology. These guys came here, they've been here for thousands of years. They are our ancestors. They created all life on this planet. They started the world's religions. They created the world's civilizations. Now at this critical time, they're getting ready to come back. That's why we're seeing this. That's what they're going to say. They're going to steer the narrative. However, I believe, and my good friend Gary Stearman believes, this is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. It's the reason for the flood. It's the reason for the flood. Unless Noah, unless they had done this, unless the flood of Noah happened, that would have been it for mankind. Only 8 people survived the ark. We're looking at a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. My opinion about the Towers of Silistani is that an earlier race constructed them, and that the Aymara Indians most likely used them for secondary interments. The bottom line is that there should be a civil debate about these matters. The arrogance and closed-minded attitudes I have encountered when dealing with archaeologists and anthropologists is very disheartening. Theories change all the time, and we should be open to various possibilities. The majority of what any civilization regards as fact is later proven inaccurate. What does our civilization have wrong? Archaeology is nothing more than educated guesswork, usually taking place inside an echo chamber where careers and salaries are dependent on a specific narrative. Yet, we are given the impression it is as certain as mathematical proof. There is nothing wrong with asking questions and offering different viewpoints. Yet, this is looked upon as an act of heresy in most academic circles. I leave the final thought to Thomas Kuhn for his structure of the scientific revolution. Mop-up operations are what engage most scientists throughout their careers. This paradigm-based research is an attempt to force nature into a preformed and relatively inflexible box that the paradigm supplies. No effort is made to call forth new sorts of phenomena. No effort to discover anomalies. When anomalies pop up, they are usually discarded or ignored. Anomalies are usually not even noticed, and no effort is made to invent a new theory, and there is no tolerance for those who try. That's from our friend and colleague Jim Vieira. Scientists who found hidden city beneath Egypt's Giza pyramids reveal data that proves the find. So let's go. As the debate over what lies beneath Egypt's Giza pyramid continues, the scientists at the center of the dispute have shared new details they believe will silence the critics. Well, again, folks, I've been very careful with this. I went with it the moment it came out. But what is the truth? And frankly, we don't know. That's why we're waiting to see what they're going to reveal. I have actually reached out to one of the scientists on the team and asked if he would come in and do an interview. We'll see if I get a response. The row began when Italian researchers said they used radar pulses to map more than 4,000 feet below the Khafre pyramid, finding enormous shafts, chambers, and a possible vast city. Independent experts claim the technology could not reach such depths, deeming the findings as unscientific and outlandish. And see, here's the problem with this. These people who are the critics, they don't have access to the data, so they're just mouthing off the talking points that bolster their paradigm. But what if the scientists who are claiming this, what if it's true? That's why we have to wait. Let's continue. Filippo Biondi, who specializes in radar technology, told DailyMail.com, most people are convinced that we are using radar to scan below the earth, and that is completely false. He explained they collected acoustics from deep in the ground, including seismic waves, noise from human activity, and photon interactions to map the newly found shafts and chambers that extend more than 2,000 feet below the surface. Let's stop right there and weigh in. If that's true, if this data holds, it rewrites history as we know it. Absolutely rewrites history as we know it. And Zawi Hawass has to apologize. Of course, let's flip the coin. If it doesn't hold and the data proves to be another canard, then, those of us who have gone out on a limb, we've got egg on our faces. This is why I'm proceeding cautiously. Let's continue. Biondi said that these waves were collected by radar, specifically by analyzing Doppler centroid abnormalities, shifts or distortions, and frequency patterns used to detect underground structures or changes. However, Professor Lawrence Connors, a radar expert at the University of Denver, who specializes in archaeology and was not involved in the study, still raised doubts. Photon interactions, this is science fiction. And frequency shifts of what? We now have three different energy sources moving around: radar, electromagnetic, sound, seismic, and light photons. This is all gobbledygook. And look, here's a shot of the pyramid, probably created by AI. Who knows at this point, right? We don't know. We don't have all the information. So with all due respect, to Professor Lawrence Connors, he may be right. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But what if he's wrong? What if the data holds? And this is why, critics is so easy to, throw the eggs and the rotten tomatoes and everything else, but we don't have all the data. How can anybody weigh in on this. We can talk about it, but we can't say, oh my gosh, this rewrites everything. If it holds true, it does rewrite everything. And I'll get to the punchline in just a little bit. As the war over what lies beneath Egypt's Giza Pyramid continues, the scientists at the center of the debate have shared new details they believe will quiet the critics. So here we have another shot of the three pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Khafre Pyramid, the Menkaure Pyramid. This allegedly is what we're looking at. There appear to be vertical shafts with a spiral, like a staircase going down of the shafts. We don't know. We don't know what we're looking at. Another shot of Khafre, where it is. If you were to take all the land masses and put them all together, right, and you find the center of those land masses, see right there, that little red dot, that's exactly where it is. So in order to know that, in order to put the pyramids there, you would have to understand and know geography. You'd have to know that the Earth is a globe. It's not a flat plate. You would have to know that the center of all these land masses is right there. The only way you can do that is from the air, who is the principality of the air. Now, I'll go out on a limb. I do not believe the Egyptians built the Great Pyramid or this complex at all, in any way, shape, or form. And hopefully, information will come out that will prove this, but we'll see. Biondi commended Professor Conyers on his expertise and ground-penetrating radar, GPR, but noted what he and his team are doing are almost at opposite ends of a spectrum. So here's a rebuttal to the rebuttal. In GPR applications, the short-range nature of the system effectively mitigates this attenuation, allowing for detailed imaging of the subsurface down to a depth of a few tens of meters, he said. However, the inherent limitations of GPR prevent penetration beyond this range due to the severe attenuation of electromagnetic waves in dense material. I've used GPR on several sites, and it's highly unreliable. It's not like the TV shows where the guy goes over with the little cart and presto, and then we dig it up, and it's not like that at all. We've been fooled several times by GPR, so it's incredibly unreliable. Biondi added that he and his team's approach is different in that it deploys synthetic aperture radar, SAR, a remote sensing technique that uses radar waves to create high-resolution images of the Earth's surface from satellites 372 miles above the surface. Unlike GPR, which injects energy directly into the ground, SAR, and this was interesting, synthetic aperture radar transmits photon-modulated electromagnetic bursts from space and records the echoes that reflect off the Earth's surface. I have no idea how that works. That's way above my pay grade, but let's continue. At first glance, SAR appears to provide only superficial information, as the received signals are predominantly reflections from the surface. However, this assumption overlooks a critical aspect of SAR data processing. The satellite moves so fast that the echoes it sends back change in frequency, spreading over a wide range from 0 hertz to tens of thousands of hertz. This effect is crucial for creating clear SAR images, especially for focusing in on the azimuth side-to-side direction. Established scientific literature confirms that any target with a non-zero radial velocity relative to the sensor will experience a shift in azimuth position and distortions in range, as described by the well-known stop-and-go approximation, said Biondi. Biondi, Mei, and Corrado Malanga of Italy's University Pisa announced the discovery last month that took the world by storm. I have reached out to Corrado Malanga. We'll see if he responds. While the team is positive their technology has uncovered what would turn Egyptian and human history on its head if true, they have yet to publish their research in a scientific journal for independent expert review. This is what we are all waiting for. And until they do that, we don't really understand or really grasp what their so-called science is. So we have to wait. We just have to wait. This has led much of a scientific community to question the validity of the images that captured massive structures deep in the ground. Now, of course, we're going to hear from Dr. Zawi Hawass, Egypt's former Ministry of Antiquities, told the National, the claim of using radar inside the pyramid is false, and the techniques employed are neither scientifically approved nor validated. Well, I mean, that's a great statement, but, how do you back that up, Mr. Hawass? With all due respect, sir, how do you back that up? So on one side, you got these people saying this is bogus. On the other side, you've got the scientists who, by the way, their names are on this report. They're the ones that are putting their reputation. Can you imagine if this whole report turns out to be a canard? Seriously? Why would you risk your entire reputation, your tenure at a major Italian university? I mean, in front of the entire globe. It's not like it's a little daily paper. This story went viral. It was picked up everywhere. Why would you do that unless you had the proof? I mean, seriously. Unless all these guys are just made-up AI characters, we don't know. Okay. However, Biondi and Mei, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, we'll just call it Mei, spoke with Daily Mail to clear up the misconceptions surrounding their methods. Biondi said that by analyzing Doppler anomalies in the synthetic radar data, he and his team can extract acoustic information from the Earth, similar to how a microphone captures sound. With a historical record of the Earth's acoustic data, we could apply a technique called tomographic inversion, which is based on the Fourier transform. I mean, I have no idea what that is. I'm not a scientist. I'm just reading the verbiage. It's interesting, but again, it's beyond my pay grade here. This allows us to create detailed scans of subsurface structures. So here are the three guys here. And let's see who's who. Philip Biondi left, Armando Mei center, and Corrado Malanga. There they are. You can see that the room is filled with people, and they're putting their reputations on the line. They are asking Egyptian officials to let them do field work under the pyramids, which would solve everything in just a matter of days, right? Researchers believe there are other structures reaching more than 4,000 feet below the surface. So let's continue. The images captured 8 descending wells, each measuring between 33 and 39 feet in diameter, extending at least 2,130 feet below the surface. The results also reveal staircase-like structures wrapping around each of these. Let me do it again, John. 3, 2, 1. The results also reveal staircase-like structures wrapping around each of the wells that connect to 2 massive rectangular enclosures in the middle. I mean, how can they be making this stuff up, right? I guess you can, but, they're staking their reputations on it. During a news briefing last week, the team also announced the discovery of a water system beneath the platform with underground pathways leading even deeper into the Earth. They stated that an unknown chamber-like structures below the system could be part of a hidden city. This discovery represents a fundamental departure from traditional radar methodologies and opens new possibilities in geophysical exploration, Biondi said. While GPR and SAR serve distinct purposes and operate under entirely different physical constraints, they each contribute valuable insights in their respective domains. In this light, we welcome continued discussion and collaboration within the scientific community, as such exchanges are essential to advancing our collective understanding of the Earth's hidden structures. So this is supposed to be hidden chambers. May you explain that the theory of a lost city is based on ancient Egyptian texts, specifically chapter 149 of the Book of Adet, which refers to the 14 residences of the city of Adet. It describes certain chambers and some inhabitants of the city. That is why we believe it could be Amenti, as described in ancient texts. Of course, we must be certain, but we believe this could be the case because the pyramids are located exactly where the texts say. The texts state that the pyramids were built on top of the city, sealing its entrance. Biondi also noted that the unknown chambers more than 4,000 feet below the pyramid could be related to the legendary Hall of Records. This is why Zawi Hawass comes out and says, these people were New Age. Not necessarily, Mr. Hawass, Dr. Hawass, not necessarily. They're taking all the data, all the information that we have in these records, the Egyptian Book of the Dead and others, Edgar Casey's channeled information, which I immediately throw out. But remember, these entities that come through, someone like Edgar Casey, yes, they lie, and they do so habitually. But every now and then they'll throw you a nugget of partial truth. Let that just sink in. The texts state that the pyramids were built on top of the city, sealing its entrance. The Hall of Records is a long-standing myth in Egyptian lore, believed to be a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid or the Sphinx, containing vast amounts of lost wisdom and knowledge about ancient civilizations. However, there is no reliable evidence proving its existence. So this is, you can see the pillars right here. There are the shafts. It is interesting. You have to admit, it's, and this is an artist's conception of what it might look like. So this is what the data shows. And from that, we get an artist's conception, probably done by AI, of what we're looking at. The researchers hope to obtain permission from Egyptian authorities to excavate the Giza Plateau and validate their findings, potentially rewriting human history. We have the right. Humanity has the right to know who we are, because right now we don't, beyond the set. We stop right there. I agree completely. And the Egyptian government should allow a team with Egyptian scientists to be part of this thing to go down. You know, it would take what, a few weeks? All they need to do is go on one side and start digging down. You know, bring in the drill rigs, which can dig 4-foot shafts very easily, go down parallel to what one of these pillars supposedly looks like, and then tunnel across and see if it's there. You know, if it's there, then all bets are off. If it's not there, let's go home. They believe the city was constructed by a pre-existing civilization 38,000 years old, which predates the oldest known man-made structure of its kind by tens of thousands of years. Okay. Professor Conyers said that is really an outlandish idea. Fine, think what you want, but first of all, I do not hold to the 38,000-year timeline. How do they get to that? You know, especially evolutionists. Billions of years ago. Well, what do you mean billions of years ago? What data are you showing us that this is billions of years old? I believe that this creation that we are living in now is very young. I do, however, believe that the Earth is much older, and something very cataclysmic happened, perhaps millions of years ago, and then there's a recreation. If you want to do a deep dive, read Earth's Earliest Ages by G.H. Bember. So let's see where it's going. He added that at the time in human history, people were mostly living in caves 38,000 years ago. People didn't start living on what we now call cities until about 9,000 years ago. There were a few large villages before that, but those only go back a few thousand years from that time. Professor Conyers, however, agreed a well or a tunnel may exist beneath the pyramids, having been there before the pyramids were built, because the site was special to ancient people. He highlighted how the Mayans and other people in Mesoamerica often built pyramids on top of entrances, and that's absolutely true. I mean, we know that. We absolutely know that. So let me weigh in here before I sign off on this particular broadcast, or this particular episode, to be a better word for that, word choice for that. If the data holds, underline the word if, huge deal. If the data holds, and they can prove scientifically that there are these shafts which go down, and there seems to be a lost city underneath, this rewrites history. Here's the warning, here's the caveat. Immediately, everything will be spun into the ancient astronaut theory. That's how it's going to work. See, we were right all along. We were visited thousands of years ago by ancient astronauts from another galaxy far, far away. That's how we're going to spin it. Gary Stearman and I have talked about this. If the data holds true, what we believe we are looking at is Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. I would posit that there was a grid system that connected many sites on a global level. This grid system was not 38,000 years ago, but it's pre-flood, like Sacsayhuaman, like Ollantaytambo, and many of the other sites that we've been to. It is pre-flood. Your research regarding the Giza Plateau and profound implications for humanity, and that if this research holds, it rewrites history as we know it. And you've released this information. It went viral. And again, I just thank you for coming on the record with us. So how does this change history as we know it?
I believe that this study we are doing along the last 2 years, I think is very, very important because it's opening a new way to understand what happened in the ancient past. But what is very, very important is the union, the conjunction between archaeological research and high technology, satellite high technology. Because I believe that we are opening a new path just to understand if the ancient myth told or tells a story or is really a myth. I believe that in the myth is written part of the ancient story of humanity, and we had the duty to understand what happened in the ancient past. My path of research started at the beginning of this century. And the first step, the most important, was when I was a speaker at the Zayed University during the conference on ancient studies that I shared with the most important researchers of that time, such as Graham Hancock, for example, or Robert Bauval, Andrew Collins, and so on. And at that conference, I presented my theory of the Zeptepi, that is an upgrade of the theory of correlation of Robert Bauval, because I believe that to understand the purpose of the Giza Plateau, so the pyramids, the Sphinx, we must study the Giza Plateau as a whole, not only the pyramids, not only the Sphinx, but to analyze all the monuments that belong to an ancient time, such as the temples beneath the Sphinx, for example, or the Tomb of the Birds in the west of the Giza Plateau. So to put together all these monuments and study it from an archaeoastronomical point of view, just to see if there is a precise moment where all those monuments are aligned with the stars. I do that, and I presented my theory. And because I achieved a very important results, because I noted that all those monuments aligned with the stuff from the east to west, aligned with the celestial vault from east to west, just only in 36,400 before Christ. This is the precise moment when the Giza Plateau aligned with the stars. And what is important is the same date of the beginning of the Zeptepi inscribed in the ancient text, Egyptian ancient text, and particularly matches with the royal canon or papyrus of Turin, where there is a long list of sovereigns that ruled over the Egypt since the very, very ancient time, so 38,000 years ago. So once I joined these results, I had the duty, of course, to understand who built the pyramids and how the pyramids were built. So there are lots of many documents that were unearthed in Egypt, many papyrus, also stele and bas reliefs that are analyzed on the last century. That tell a story very particular of the ancient Egypt. But any one of them refers to the construction of the Giza, of the pyramids. It means that, of course, if the pyramids of Giza are not included in all those papyrus, something means. So I try to solve the quest studying the pyramids from a different point of view, applying the mathematical model of analysis to the pyramids, very easy mathematical models. And I discover that the sites of each pyramid of Giza originated from the first 4 prime number of the table of the prime number. That is to say, number 3, number 5, and number 7 for the height of the pyramids, 7 for the Great Pyramid, 5 for the Menkaure Pyramid, and 3 for the Khafre Pyramid. And the base is always 11, a constant for all 3 pyramids. But what is very astonishing is that in the Khafre Pyramid, I discovered a code that is very important for the physics. That is to say, the number 137. That from this number originated the 3 main laws of physics: electromagnetism, relativity, and quantum physics. It means that this number was already managed from the civilization of built the Giza plateau, the pyramids, the Sphinx, and so on. That is why we applied the multidisciplinary model of investigation, because we believe that just only following this kind of path, we can achieve the results to understand what happened in the ancient past. And so I joined the Khafre research project CR Technology. I met Filippo and Corrado that were studying the pyramid of Khufu using the SAR technology. And then we put together in the effort to shed light on the secrets and mystery of the Khafre pyramid.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot to take in. And thank you for that answer. I appreciate that. Dr. Zawi Hawass has maintained that the pyramids were built by the Egyptians, and this is the current standard paradigm in archaeology. However, Hawass and others have never explained the very large megalithic blocks over the King's Chamber that are granite and came from Aswan, 500 miles away. Does this bolster the possibility of other builders?
Sometimes I believe that what is important for an Egyptologist or an archaeologist is to enter in a quarry of granite to understand how the granite blocks are extracted from the quarries. Because I believe that who claims or state this kind of hypothesis that the Egyptians built the pyramids, extracting the granite from the quarries, transported the blocks of 70 tons for 100 kilometers until Giza, and then to put the granite at 43 meters of height, I believe that is a crazy hypothesis. Crazy hypothesis.
I agree.
It's not possible. It's not possible. So I think that also Zaki Hawass must give us, maybe for a team or a pool of international Egyptologists, the duty to study, the right to study the graffiti of ice inside the chambers of the jet in the Great Pyramid, because we believe that it is a forgery, and this is why it doesn't give the authorization to study this graffiti on the field. That is why I believe that we must shed light on the basic point, just to move forward in question more and more important.
And to your point about the cartouche above the King's Chamber that says Khafre, I mean, that the moment I heard that and read that, I said, well, anybody can go up there in the 19th century and write that. And I believe it's an absolute forgery. There's not a hieroglyphic. I mean, how did they get the so-called sarcophagus in the King's Chamber? I mean, nothing adds up. Absolutely nothing adds up, in my opinion. Your team used satellite imagery to discover what appears to be structures that are going down over, and you guys did it in meters. Over here, we're in feet. It's basically 2,116 feet below the surface. How can we be sure of that data? And when you presented this, I mean, my head was spinning, because this gets into the whole idea of the Giza Pyramid being some sort of a power system. I mean, other people have talked about this. We don't know. But I mean, how reliable is this data?
So considering this, you ask me how much are reliable correlated with reality. I am telling you this. We have done a a plateau kit of measurements. Anyone who makes measurements, electrical and measurements, it's never we never have things with probability 1, so 100%. Nobody. It's not possible. So we worked like that. In 2022, me and Corrado Malagga, my co-worker, we started the project in order to visualize the internal chambers of the pyramid of Khufu using satellite data. In that period, we was interested in looking inside matter. And there was already a project ongoing, financed by other international universities, that's the so-called Scan Pyramid project. And it is very good because they use muons in order to scan inside matter because neutrinos can penetrate matter as they want because they are neutral particles and they are good. So we hadn't the power to make something similar. So we tried to invent something that was comparable with the Scan Pyramid project. What we had to do is find the physics that was compliant in our objective. So scanning inside matter. Scanning inside matter, the other physical phenomena was sound, because sound is absolutely compatible with to scan inside the bodies, because the sound is capable to be propagated only inside the matter. Okay, so once we have found the physical parameter to use, we had to realize a scientific method in order to scan inside the pyramid. And we chose the synthetic aperture radar. Why? Because I study radar, I think now, today, 30 years that I'm studying and working on radar. I joined the community of synthetic aperture radar maybe 18 years ago.
Oh.
Because synthetic aperture radar is another very specialized field inside the radar compound, because it's very specialized. Because the word synthetic, it's something that is related to azimuth resolution. I tell you, the resolution is a physical parameter that measures the minimum distance for which two targets can be visible separately. And in order to synthesize high resolution satellite images, synthetic aperture radar images, it is necessary to synthesize a long temporal aperture in terms of aperture. So the synthetic aperture radar of high resolution images. But what we noticed is that the synthetic aperture radar images are focused in the azimuth direction using sound. So that's again sound. The thing that we had to do was to make a procedure, so to realize a procedure in order to grab acoustical information from the Earth. So we realized a huge microphone using satellites in order to grab the sound information, and so on. In order to retrieve let's call them underground structure of the Earth, once we had synthesized the communication channel of the sound, we realized a a tomographic procedure in order to have the slice of the underground. That's so the question is how can be, or in which percentage can be correlated effectively to the structure that we have claimed on the conference. In this position, we are very confident because we have changed it. It's a lot of time that we are working on this project. We began the CAFRE project 1 year ago, so last year. In 1 year, we have produced at least 200 tomographies. We have in my house here, I have 2 computers that are 24 hours in action. So they are always grabbing new tomographs. We have used 2 different satellite systems. In this context, I please ask you to thank the American companies, that is Capella Space and Umbra Space, that gently gave us the possibility to analyze their data inside the open access program that they have prepared for this project. And so using different satellites, different images and different tomographic lines, we obtained the same results. So we have we are high confident that the things we have announced, we have claimed in our press conference are highly correlated. I can't say, but nobody can say that we have the 100% because it is impossible. But we are highly confident that we are claiming the right things.
Let me just ask you something. In other words, from what you just stated, you repeated this numerous times, and you kept getting the same images through 2 different satellite groups.
Yes. Yes.
So
2 different satellites, 2 different companies that built the satellites.
Right.
Say 2 different electronics that have on board the satellites because they are completely different.
Right.
Capella Space and Umbra Space.
But you're getting the same results.
Yes. Yes.
Above all, detecting the area from different points of view, from east, from west, from south, from north. Changing the position of the point of observation, the results is always the same.
And I tell you, before giving these things, the shafts, for example, these huge shafts that goes below the earth, we passed a lot of time. Corrado, what are these? And Corrado told me also, Filippo, what are these things here?
Right.
Corrado, it may be noise, I don't know. Let's see. They were always present, so I'm sorry, but and then we saw spirals like that.
Spirals going down.
Spirals going down. They are man-made, absolutely, or they are artificial. They are artificial, and they are present. We spend also a lot of time to calculate the length of these things, and the length is the deepness is very high, more between 1.2 and 1.4 kilometers below the earth.
It's just it's astounding, absolutely astounding. Let me ask you something. So, Zawi Hawass and others of his ilk, this is not written per se, but have you had any luck as permits to go down and dig and see if there's something there?
I just thank you for this question. the thing that I have to say is this, we thank we respect absolutely all the Egyptologist community, because they are wonderful. We respect 100% Zaki Awas because he is my mate, personal mate.
Wow. Okay.
He's very competent, and he is, how you say, cittadino onorario, something armato, come si dice, onorificenza.
You obtain a
Citizen of honor.
of a little country near the Nico.
Yes, in Pastignano sul Trasimeno, 3 kilometers where I live, where we are doing this video now. So we fully respect him because he is competent. We cannot say nothing about him, but we are firmly in our results. So we are 100% sure. No, we are 100% sure to announce our results with a certain correlation. Very valid.
Wow. Let me ask you something, because I know a lot of the viewers, there's all sorts of, if the data holds true, and from what you're saying, I believe the data will hold true. And I didn't realize that there were 2 different satellite companies, and taking images from all around and coming up with the same results. I mean, that's just amazing. Who do you think built these? Any idea? I mean, if it's not the Egyptians, who are we looking at?
The basic point is that, as I said before, we have to better understand what is written in the ancient myth. Because, for example, in the Book of Death, Egyptian Book of Death,
Egyptian Book of the Dead,
there are some chapters that seems to tell an ancient story of a fight between 2 brothers, Seth and Osiris. But the description of the fight and the location that are described in the book seems to refer to something that really happened in the ancient past. It's possible. Now, there are lots of other documents that seems to refer to an ancient civilization, an unknown civilization. We don't know who they are. We don't know. But there are the connection with this ancient unknown civilization. Now, we have no proof of the existence because we are looking for the proof of the existence of that civilization. But in my opinion, for example, I believe that this ancient civilization was a global civilization that lived on the planet, because there are archaeological sites everywhere in the world that are similar among them. Pyramid in South America, pyramid in China, megalithic site everywhere. So it means that something happened and a global civilization lived on Earth. Now, what happened at that civilization? We don't know. Maybe the Great Flood.
The Great Flood, and that's let me stop right there. That is the paradigm that I hold to. I think there was a grid system over the planet. The flood wiped it all out. We see vestiges of it everywhere. Please continue.
Yes. Also, because just to discuss of the Great Flood, that seems to be happened because an outer space object strike the Earth. Many researchers, scientists believe that the impact was on the Earth, and they are looking for the place of the impact. But we must also remember that Earth is composed by the 7% of water. So it's possible that we can't find the clues of the impact because it's possible that happened in the water. So we have to to understand what happened in the past means to have an open mind, to analyze all the possibilities. Otherwise, we always at the same point at the solution of problems. We can achieve any result. That is why I was saying, because in my opinion, there was an ancient civilization, we must find the clues. The clues, in my opinion, is, for example, one for all, the Giza Plateau. Because the pyramids, for example, has many features that don't belong to the Egyptian civilization lived during the Fourth Dynasty, during the Old Kingdom, because that civilization didn't have any tools, for example, or any architectural skills to build such kind of monument. So, in my opinion, the pyramids are the witness of the ancient civilization all living on Earth. If the scientist doesn't want to see that, it's not my responsibility, because we move forward in our path with the target to solve the secrets of the ancient past.
Wow. Let me ask you guys this. There have been many people, you mentioned Dr. Robert Duvall in passing. There are people that have said that the Great Pyramid was some sort of the Giza power plant, for instance. And looking at the structures, I believe, and you mentioned megalithic structures all over the earth, and I've been to many of them. And when you go there, the guides will say that the Inca were great builders and all this other stuff. Not buying it for a second. I've been to Sacsayhuaman. I've been to Ollantaytambo. I've been to all the megalithic sites, many of them throughout Europe and even in the United States. It seems like these pyramids in Giza may have been some sort of a power plant to light up the grid, some sort of an energy system. What are your thoughts on that?
As you know, in times ago, Christopher Dunn wrote a book very, very interesting, The Giza Power Plant.
Yes.
And but also many other authors believe that the Giza Plateau is a power plant. Now, as I was saying before, when I discovered the code 137, this strictly connects with the main laws of physics. It was the key point to start to understand what was the pyramid purpose, because the number 137 is not casual. Is clearly in the dimensions, in the size of the monuments, and is not and is the base to understand what was their purpose. Now, when we analyze the shafts that goes in the underground from the Khafre Pyramid,
Paths, yes,
yes, we propose two kind of hypotheses. The first that Professor Corrado Malanga suggests that is the team leader of the Khafre project, suggests during the conference in March 16. We believe that the shaft maybe have the function to support the weight of the pyramids. The pyramid Khafre is based on a kind of slabs that is made of limestone, and without these slabs that surround the pyramid, without these slabs, we made a calculation. Without these slabs, maybe the pyramid would collapse of almost 10 meters. With the support of these slabs and the shafts in the underground, the pyramid is always in its position and has no problem of collapsing. I'm sorry for my English, but I'm trying to explain technically what.
No, it's very, and I thank you for coming on the record.
The second point is to analyze all the feature of the shafts that goes in the underground, but some of them are empty inside. So it is possible that they were used to support the vibration, the energy coming from the earth towards the pyramids, of course, for a particular function that we must understand. And we can understand that studying all the details of the pyramids and of the underground to have a precise and above all scientific model that can explain the purpose of the pyramid. So we are studying that, but we can suggest a possible solution of the problem once we have a precise scientific result. But it's possible the vibration is connected with the pyramid.
Wow. This is it's amazing. It's such a breakthrough. I'd like to get your closing thoughts. Armando, I'll start with you. And Filippo, I'll give you the last word. Armando, your closing thoughts, please.
Oh, I just want to say to all people, to humankind, because in our Facebook page, there is our logo suggesting this research is for humankind. So we need the support of humankind who won't really know what are our origins. We need your support to move forward in our challenge, because it's a very great challenge that we are doing, and we need your support to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Armando, that I agree with him. I repeat that we need the support of anyone on this planet, because this research is mandatory to know who we are, because we as humanity, we don't know who we are. We don't know. We're born here. We live on this planet that is very nice, but we know very little about us. So in my personal opinion, this research will contribute a lot to know who we are. And then other news about our research will be developed on December in a conference that we'll do will be held in Bologna, probably in the in a sport center called the Palazzetto dello Sport. And so we will see what happens. Thank you.
Well, I will announce new discoveries.
Maybe yes. Yeah, I think yes.
And please email me when that happens so I can alert all our viewers so they can follow. I'm just gonna throw a curveball at you guys. It wasn't part of our written questions. It's not a gotcha question, but I'm looking at this and I call it fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. That's what I call it, and I'm stuck with that. I mean, I'm in intellectual concrete here. I'm not going to budge, but that's what I think we're looking at, and it fits the biblical paradigm. And we're not talking, church or anything. We're talking what was written. But guys, thank you for coming on the record. It's really an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Great pleasure to stay with you. Great pleasure. Thank you.
And please keep us informed. You got my email. We'd love to have you back on. Anything that happens, let us know.
We are at humankind centered. So everything is for humankind. Just to underline that in Bologna, the conference will be in English and Italian. So it's open to.
And when will that happen, Armando? What's the date of this?
December. Maybe between 8th and 15th of December.
Okay, so it's almost a year out. Okay.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for coming on the record. Really appreciate it. Filippo and Armando, thank you so much. You are in America now. You've flown over here, and I hope your journey was good and uneventful. It seems like it was. What information do you have to give us regarding the Khafre Pyramid?
There are lots of information, new updates about our study and detection of the Giza Plateau. As you know, we had a conference last week in Malta, where we show new scan of the Giza Plateau that refers particularly to the Sphinx and the Menkaure pyramids. And we show new shafts that goes underneath the pyramid of Menkaure, and also one shaft under the Sphinx.
Wow.
And we also detected the causeway from the Sphinx to the Khafre pyramids. And we noted that there is another interesting shaft very close to the Osiris shaft that we already detected the last time. And we are studying the tomography because maybe it could be connected to the Osiris shaft. But we have to study in-depth the tomography to be sure that there is a possible connection between them. So there are really interesting new updates and more to come.
We all know that this is going to rewrite history as we know it, which is absolutely incredible. It's what amazes me is we have Egyptology tells us this is what happened and there's no other alternative. But those of us who have been studying this for decades, I'm one of them, looked at all this and said, no, something else is going on here. And your work is exposing that something else. Your work is showing us that, wait a minute, something lies beneath the sands and the Egyptians had nothing to do with it. Speak to that, please.
Yes, since the beginning of the 19th century and along the last 2 centuries, the study of the Giza Plateau and particularly of the pyramids gave us a lot of information about the monuments and the architecture and engineering features of the monuments that, in my opinion, don't align with the skills of the Egyptians.
I agree.
During the Fourth Dynasty. That is why until now the pyramids are a mystery, because if the conclusions, the assumptions, the hypotheses, the theories of the Egyptologists really match with the pyramids features, the pyramids will never be a mystery. But if the quest about the pyramids is still alive, it means that something doesn't work. That is why we decide to move following new patterns of investigation, connecting the alternative and investigative, but the experimental archaeology with satellite technology.
Correct.
Because this is the only way to move forward in the mystery of the pyramids. And we believe that this is the only way to achieve the final results, that is to explain to humankind what happened in a very distant time. Because we are sure that the pyramids were not built during the Fourth Dynasty. There are many clues confirming our assumptions, and that is why we are studying the pyramids from a different point of view in the effort to find the key to unveil the secrets of the Giza Plateau.
Well said. Let me ask you something. Has any archaeological dig begun to happen on next to the Khafre pyramid, or has any digging, any archaeological work to go underneath and to prove that that the columns, and I just want to show the audience these columns apparently, according to their work, goes down 2,116 feet. And that in itself is an engineering marvel. Could you do it in modernity? Yeah, you could do it today. You can do it today. But what's interesting about this, these columns with the spirals mimic what we see in nuclear reactors. So what are we looking at here? I mean, is the Giza power plant, which some people have posited that it was before the Great Flood? I think all this existed before the flood, and then it was wiped out in the global flood, and that's thousands and thousands of years ago. What has the Egyptian government allowed? This is my question: has the Egyptian government allowed any digging at all to see if there's something there?
I will reply from the historical and archaeological point of view, then I leave the word to Filippo.
Okay.
Well, you have to know that this is not the first time that someone discussed about the possible existence of a network of conduits and chambers beneath the Giza Plateau.
Sure.
Since the 1930s, an Egyptian archaeologist, Salim Hassan, explored some conduits beneath the pyramids, and he believed that under the Giza Plateau there was something very, very important, other structures, hidden structures beneath the pyramid. Nevertheless, this work didn't go away forward, and was stopped. And then another Egyptologist, Hakim Abdel Awian, also explored some tunnels beneath the pyramids. And also Andrew Collins in the west of the Giza pyramids. He studied the Tomb of the Birds, exploring the tunnel that goes underneath the Giza Plateau. Unfortunately, all those conduits are blocked or sealed. That is why it's impossible to explore all the underground of Giza. That is why we need authorization from the Egyptian authorities, just to explore also a small part of the Giza Plateau, just to be aware of what lies underneath the pyramids, and to explore the structures that we detected with the SRR. Now, what is the function of all this? We don't know, but maybe Filippo can help us to.
Armando, I think also I don't know the purpose of all these structures. But recently we have interviewed Christopher Dunn.
Yes.
And we were very excited to interview him, because we spoke about the possibility that the Giza Plateau can be used as a power plant.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of things that we have to do. In my personal opinion, the first thing that we have to do is to finish the work on the Giza Plateau. So we have to scan other parts of the pyramids and of the Giza Plateau, in order to watch better the things that we are announcing in these conferences that we are doing in all the world. We are concentrating efforts on 3 blocks of 3 main areas, where there are a lot of shafts, and some of them are visible by our eyes, because they are visible from the surface of the Giza Plateau. We have we will indicate 3 main areas where there are these shafts that goes down, and they are not the shafts that we found under each pyramids, but there are other conduits that are differently designed, and tomorrow we will explain how the differences that and then once we have finished these details, we can we are parallelly we are working on the peer-reviewed scientific article that it is ready, and we have to arrange it a bit so to get it perfect in order to submit it at the editor of no, it's not Tribal E, is remote sensing. We will submit it to remote sensing and NDPI remote sensing. And then we can say that the work on the Giza Plateau will be finished. And the next step, we hope to move in Egypt, and in that case, submit to the Egyptian authority a project proposal in order to have a sort of grant in order to be in excavations. That's, in my personal opinion, can be a successful procedure. So to explore personally what we have discovered now using synthetic aperture radar.
You mentioned the Tomb of the Birds and Colin Andrews, and I watched that video with him. I'm also in communication with Christopher Dunn, hopefully to get him on my show, because he's written a book about the Giza Plateau was some sort of a power plant, and I agree with that. The Great Pyramid, it's and I know you guys know all this. I just want to sort of give this to my viewers, because many people have never studied it. The Great Pyramid is not 4 sides, it's 8 sides, and it was optically perfect. And to construct something like that in the ancient world, I mean, we're looking at how do you even go about that? The fact that it's concave. In other words, the surface isn't flat. It's an 8-sided pyramid, the Pyramid of Giza. You've got the huge blocks of stone above the king's chamber. And then, Colin Andrews is down there in the Tomb of the Birds, and all of a sudden they shoo him out of there and they lock it all down. And this is the problem. We see this over and over and over again. And here's my question. There's a prevailing paradigm, a global prevailing paradigm, which basically says, the Egyptians built the pyramid, the Native Americans built all these ancient mounds and all this other stuff. The Teotihuacanos, whoever they were, built, Teotihuacan, that pyramid. They don't even know who built it. They have no idea. They make this stuff up, and then they force feed it down everyone. And in academia, and you guys know this because you come from academia, you're taught one particular paradigm. And if you go against that paradigm, you don't get a job, you don't get promoted, you flunk the class. So you guys, and my hat is off to you, you're going against the prevailing global paradigm. And what you're showing is that this technology that's there, could you do it in modernity? Could you do it now? Yeah, maybe. But look what we have. Go back thousands of years ago, none of this existed. So here's my question. You're going up against the prevailing paradigm. What resistance have you experienced? What pushback from Egyptologists, from academia, from a scientific community? What pushback? Because I know there's got to be some.
Well, the question is very, very important.
Don't give it.
Because the discussion is very very important. You have to know that the Carfrey Research Project is open to any kind of debate with all the world, researchers, academic, alternative scholars. We are open to discuss about this topic with everyone. because we are sure of what we are doing and about our job. Moreover, there are many clues in Egyptians' findings along the last 2 centuries, and also in the myth, the Egyptian myth, but also in the myth all around the world, suggesting that it's possible that in a very distant time there was an advanced civilization who lived on this planet. We don't know who they are, who they were. We know that in the past there was someone that preceded our civilization. And now the hard job that we are doing is to rebuild the story, analyzing the scientific events characterizing the planet in the ancient past, particularly in the last 100,000 years. And I detected 3 basic moments, for example, that I will discuss during the Cosmic Summit. And the event happens during 70,000 before Christ, when the Earth scientifically, geological certain this event happened during that time. And I refer to the eruption of the supervolcano Toba, that is in Indonesia, that characterized the climate, the environment in the southern hemisphere of the planet during the Pleistocene era. So the northern hemisphere of the planet was full of ice.
Right.
And in that period, with the eruption of the supervolcano Toba, humankind was in a kind of bottlenecked that risked the extinctions, because was a very intense event, a large scale. So the humans risks to wipe it out. And the second point is the period of the Zeptepi and the disappearance of the Neanderthal. So between 40,000 and 36,000 before Christ. And the last point is 10,500 before Christ.
Right.
That is connected to the Great Flood.
Right.
Those are the 3 main events characterizing the story of this planet. And we are trying to rebuild the story that is inscribed in the myths all around the world, to rebuild the story of the ancient civilization that lived on this planet in the ancient past. And our ancestors that built the monuments, the megalithic monuments all around the world.
Yes. Yes. And this is why I say on my show, there's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. I mean, the people of the world have a right to know. If there is something that lies beneath the Khafre pyramid, you would think every single Egyptian, archaeologist would make a beeline to this thing. They'd be petitioning the powers that be. Let's see what's there. Are you kidding me? Let's see what's there. Instead, like the Tomb of the Birds, they seal it off, or they seal off other. So no, nothing to see here. Stay away. And we get the same thing here in the Americas, where the mounds were raided and the giant skeletons that came out of them. And there's all these reports from doctors and lawyers and all sorts of people with letters that saw the giant skeletons and everything else. Oh no, nothing to see here. And it's all carted away. And we're told that we're pseudo-archaeologists. What's the truth? I mean, what's the truth? So, I mean, I really admire what you guys are doing. I know you guys must be exhausted from intercontinental travel, and you're here in the States. So I guess I got my dates wrong. How do people, is this conference this weekend? Is that what we're looking at? How do people get into that? Please let us know, because I want to blast this tomorrow far and wide.
Yes, we will do the presentation, 2 presentation, a presentation Armando and mine. Speaking about my presentation will be technical, so and scientific. I will explain the basics of the technique that we have developed to perform the remote sensing measurements, because we are performing measurements. We have performed a lot of measurements, and the measurements are objective data, and the data are reported into tomographic slice. And just watching the tomographic slice, we do not invent anything, because it's written all into the measurements. And this is very important, because we are compliant to the physical law, the law of satellites, the law of signal processing, the law of telecommunication. And so, according to this, we will show people what we have done technically. Then we will speak about the Giza Plateau. We will give people what we have found. We will explain people why we were able to build the model that you show a lot of times in this presentation. Yes, the spirals. We will see the spirals measured by the radar. That's very fine. Thank you. Yes, it's very good. It's very good. This. Yes. The height is not in scale, because the height of the tubes they are very deep. They go inside very deep.
Very deep.
Very deep. It is really strange to see this, but the measurements are compliant to the data that to the things that we have retrieved, and all these things, as I told you before, will be submitted to a peer-reviewed scientific article. So that's important. So at the Cosmic Summit, we will say this. We will describe scientifically our exploitation. Not scientific, in academic. So because it's important, because we began this study in 2019 with Corrado Malanga, former scientist of chemistry at the University of Pisa, retired. And we, because we started studying the Khufu pyramid, and then we moved to scan all the Giza Plateau, because this work had to be done, as you told us before, because humanity has to know what happened in the past.
Amen. Exactly. So how do we tune in on this? How can my viewers, how can they go? Is it a virtual conference? Can they pay and then sign up and then stream it? Is that
Yes.
what's going to happen?
I think they can pay, and people will stream this conference. Yes.
Summit.com. And for your audience, I walk over here. So it'll be, Alec, can you hear me?
Yes, it's cosmicsummit.com.
Yeah, and for your audience, you can tell them use code 3CAMS, the number 3 CAMS, and it'll be $25 off the live stream. It's a $50 live stream pass, on-demand video. You get to keep all of it for all 3 days.
Great. And when does it start?
Tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, we're going to start live streaming a pilot mountain event, and then the lectures start on Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
So it's 3 hands, like hands, HANDS?
3 cams, like cameras.
Oh, okay. 3 CAMS, correct?
And that's because we got a first-person perspective camera,
And then we've got a newsroom camera, and then we've got all of the cameras filming all the lectures.
Well, we'll get this out tomorrow, and make sure that the folks have an opportunity to see it. This is groundbreaking information, and it's amazing how the mainstream media doesn't really get behind it, and it changes everything. It changes everything. It does, and it's a monumental find. And my hat is off to you guys for continuing the research and to try to bring the truth to the people of the world. Thank you for this. I'll give you guys the last word.
We really appreciate, of course, the support of everyone. Last night we had an interview with some guys from Emirates, and we discussed about our research, of course, but we received an interesting update from the Arab world that the great parts are supporting the CAFRE project because they believe in what we are doing, and we are very happy to notice that, because this study on the pyramids is joining all the world, all the people, and this is very, very important for us. And we also hope to have, during the conference in Dubai next November, finally to have a meet with Dr. Zaki Awas that will share the conference with us in November. Yeah. And we are ready to talk to him and discuss about our research. Also because you have to know that the CAFRE project, member of the CAFRE project, have a great appreciation for the job that Zagia was made in Egypt along all these years.
Yes.
And he made a great job for his country and for Egyptology. And we have just only an issue that we have a different point of view on the region with Giza Pyramid. But between smart people, I believe that a deep discussion among us could be very important also to join our different projects with the common effort to find a key to unveil the secrets of the pyramids. So I hope that this happens.
Boy, I hope it happens too. Filippo and Armando, thank you so much for coming on the record. I really appreciate it. We're going to get this out tomorrow morning first thing. So we've got the cosmicsummit.com and then $25 off for 3 cams. And I hope we get a lot of, signups for that. I know I will be there on Saturday and Sunday watching it. So maybe when the conference is over, I'll have some questions and we can do this again. But I thank you for your time and thank you for your pioneering efforts. You guys are amazing. This is groundbreaking stuff. It came off the Daily Mail. I'll get into it in just a second. But here's something to think about. Look, the whole UFO thing is happening. It really is. This is the current edition of Nat Geo. Are we alone? Don't forget the film. If you have not seen it, it's a must-see. You need to watch it. Age of Disclosure, where congressmen and women, one-star admirals, all sorts of physicists, and everybody embedded in military, government, pilots. I mean, the list is unbelievable. These are all stand-up people, stand-up men and women, all saying that we are not alone. We are not alone. We are not alone. What do you do with that as a Christian? How does that affect your faith? This is why we're doing the conference on January 16th and 17th. We've got some great speakers showing up. Gary Stearman, Milo Gonzalez, Derek Gilbert, former abductee Karen Wilkinson, as well as Al Matthews. Karen will be talking about her book, Stolen Seed Evil Harvest. Alan DiDio, Vicky Joy Emerson, Tim Alberino, Josh Beck, Larry Ragland, and of course, yours truly. $19.99. So for a penny under $20, you get to watch all Friday. We're going to start around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go. And then Saturday morning from 9, probably to 5 or 6. We're also showing 2 films, our UFO abduction film, and then again, What is the Truth? So it's, why it's the cheapest conference out there. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go in your car, no hotel rooms. You can eat all the popcorn you want in your own house. So for $19.99, check it out. Here's where to go, www.deception2026.com. Deception2026.com. Deception2026.com. Thanks ahead of time. It's going to be a great conference. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so here's the deal. These scientists confirm colossal underground complex beneath the pyramid. So first of all, there's a very well-known TV show, and I won't disparage the people who put that on or the host or anything else. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe and to say what they believe is their truth, and that's fine. This particular show referenced the work of these Italian scientists in a very disparaging way. And basically they said, there's nothing to see here, nothing underground, blah, blah, blah. Not so fast, citizen. We don't know. We don't know. And it's actually very easy to test. Bring in the machines, go to Giza, go to the Great Pyramid, and be careful because it's an archaeological site. Dig down. What's beneath? And I want to thank Dr. Kathy Forte for coming on the record. I'm trying to get her back on just to talk about all this. She's been underneath the pyramids several times, many times. And it's what's accessible now is down a couple of 100 feet. Anyway, let's watch this. Let's see what the scientists have to say.
We have measured approximately over 1 kilometer of depth.
Over a kilometer of depth.
Do you think that the pyramid was a nuclear fusion machine?
Please give me another request. Maybe the water goes through these spirals, and the spirals are made by piezoelectric material.
So what's really interesting about this, of course, is that more information, we need more information. But if these guys are, they're stand-up guys, I've interviewed them on my show. Maybe John can find the link and put it down in the box below so you guys can check that out, of that interview I did with them. Something is going on. So what are we looking at? In my opinion, this is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. The Egyptians had nothing to do with this. And this is why this very well-known television show, which I was watching a few weeks ago, was stating that, well, nothing to see here. The Egyptians built the pyramid. We know this. And that is the standard operating procedure with all things that have to do with Egyptology. Those of us who look at the pyramid and realize millions of blocks were put in place, it's not a burial chamber. It's not. The large stones the size of railroad cars almost that support the roof over the king's chamber are quarried from Aswan 500 miles away. How was that done? And Gary Steer and I have talked about this. The casing stones that once lined the Great Pyramid, not Khufu, but the Great Pyramid, was optically perfect. Was it some sort of a power plant? In my opinion, it was. And it was destroyed in the flood. And in my opinion, and I get it, the scientists, the 2 guys, Biondi and Filippo, they're not going to agree with what my paradigm, and that's fine. I get that. Not many people will, because I'm looking at this through the eyes of the prism, the lens of the biblical prophetic narrative. There was a flood. There was technology that was destroyed in that flood, and the remnants of it, I believe, are at Giza. There's also other remnants in Peru, and I've led tours there to Sacsayhuaman. Thank you, Brian Forrester, for introducing us to that. But Brian wasn't the first. Eric von Daniken, decades and decades ago, wrote a book about that. And I remember reading that book and just like being completely blown away by what I was reading. And I've been to most of those sites. You are looking at fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture, in my opinion. Absolutely no doubt about it. A team of Italian scientists took the world by storm last March when they announced the discovery of a colossal underground complex, plunging, well, initially I heard 2,100 feet, now we're saying 3,500 feet, beneath Egypt's Giza Plateau and linking chambers the size of city blocks. Now, Filippo Biondi, the radar engineer who developed the imaging method, has gone public with evidence that he said leaves little room for doubt. In an interview on Jesse Michael's American Alchemy podcast, Biondi revealed that 4 independent satellite operators, Umber, Capella Space, and ICI, and Italy's Cosmos SkyMed, all returned identical raw tomography data showing the same structures. All 4 satellites gave exactly the same results, Biondi said. That is really amazing. We cannot announce anything without these basic scientific methods. Using a technique he pioneered called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography, Biondi's team measures microscopic vibrations on the Earth's surface. Those vibrations carry acoustic fingerprints from objects thousands of feet underground, allowing a software to reconstruct 3D images even though the radar waves themselves never penetrate the soil. The scans reveal 8 massive hollow cylinders dropping straight down from the base of the Khafre Pyramid, the middle of the 3 Great Pyramids. Each shaft has a central column wrapped in perfect coils and terminates more than 3,500 feet below the Giza Plateau. It's unbelievable. The chambers below that are larger than most modern sports arenas. This is what the imagery looks like. You can see it here. The Italian scientists who claim to have found hidden structures beneath Egypt's Giza Pyramid said 4 independent satellite operators all returned identical raw tomography data showing the same structures. So this gives you an idea. I love maps. So this is the Great Pyramid. The Khafre Pyramid is here, and the Menkaure Pyramid is here. So if this holds, it rewrites history. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And, you know, Biondi is coming on the record and stating that 4 independent satellite, they're all coming up with the same data. So going back to the TV show, they're not being honest and forthright, in my opinion. Allegedly. Maybe they don't have all the data, but they poo-pooed all this and said, no, we're not going with that. It rewrites history because there is a hidden history that is deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. So let's continue. So this is what it looks like. So here's the Khafre Pyramid right here, and these are the cylinders which go down. They appear, underline that word, to be vertical shafts. Obviously, this is great information, but it needs to be tested. And 8 vertically aligned cylindrical structures arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south descend to a depth of more than 2,100 feet. The pyramids are the tip of the iceberg, Biondi declared. The pyramid is just a hat to complete something that is located far below. The substance, what they really constructed, is below. When asked if spirals could be natural formations, he shot back, 100% it's man-made. You do not find perfect coils like this in geology. However, many mainstream experts, including Egyptologists, there's our good old pal, Dr. Zali Alas, Pyramid, have dismissed the findings as fake news since they were announced this spring. Halas has pushed back on the claims, arguing that the radar technology cannot penetrate the pyramid to the extent the Italian researchers suggest. So who's right? Who's wrong? Who's telling the truth? Who's blustering? We don't know. I mean, it'd be so easy just to get in there and do a dig and see what's there. But the criticism has not stopped the Italian researchers, as they have found the same signature in smaller form under the 3rd pyramid, Menkaure, and as a single giant shaft beneath the Sphinx. Identical spiral shaft geometry was also detected 30 miles away at Hawara, the site ancient writers called the Labyrinth. The Giza complex consists of 3 pyramids, Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure, built about 4,500 years ago on a rocky plateau on the west bank of the Nile River. But what if it's more than 4,500 years? See what I'm going with this? What if you push this back to pre-flood? Now we're looking at a whole different history. So far, our team has measured a depth of over 3,280 feet more than half a mile down. The structures appear like tubes of a total of 8, descending from the base of the pyramid to what look like huge chambers, more than 260 feet wide and 260 feet high, sitting at the bottom. So there's the podcast right there, and you can see the Team 7 technology captured enormous chambers pictured at the bottom of the shafts. So, we don't know what we're looking at. The scans also captured a spiral-like structure around each of the 8 shafts. Beyond the admitted, he and his team did not know the purpose of these structures, but theorized the spirals could be stairs or cables wrapped around each one. I can say that this structure, the tubes extending beneath the pyramid, seems to be related to information, he said. Generating energy is a kind of information. Information is everything. To silence skeptics who claim the images were AI hallucinations, Biondi pointed to blind tests, including his method perfectly imaged Italy's Gran Sasso underground physics laboratory, buried inside a mountain 125 miles away with 100% accuracy. Okay? The team has already submitted a formal proposal to Egyptian authorities under the Khafre Research Project. The plan requires no drilling, as existing shafts between the Sphinx and Khafre Pyramid, currently filled with centuries of debris, appear in the scans to be surface entrances leading directly into the half a mile deep complex. Here we go, folks. Look at that. What are we looking at here? What are we, if they find that, it rewrites history. And that's what everybody's terrified of. It's just like this. We are not alone. Can you imagine if President Donald Trump stands up and says, we are not alone? How is that going to impact your life? It's going to impact everybody's life on the planet. What happens if Pope Leo, in tandem with our president, President Donald Trump, stands up and says the same thing? We're not alone. And maybe you get 4 or 5 or 6 other, world leaders coming on and saying the same thing. We're not alone. How is that going to impact your faith? We'll get into that in a little bit. So we only need permission to clean them and descend, the Omni said. If they approve before the end of this year, physical exploration could begin in 2026. Wow. Anyway, folks, let me just leave it right here. There's the shot. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely none. And if they find those structures, and apparently it's fairly easy to do because there's a connecting shaft between the Sphinx. So here we go. Clearing out the debris. Excuse me. Let's go see what's there. What are our origins? The ancient astronaut theorists will tell us that we were seeded here by an advanced race of extraterrestrials. The neo-Darwinists looked towards panspermia and state on the record, we're not alone. We've been visited for thousands of years. The ETs, the Space Brothers, created all life on this planet. Folks, this allows me to segue January 16th and the 17th. Deception 2026. Exposing the strong delusion. Exposing the strong delusion. You know why? Because it's happening and it's not going away. We have 10 speakers: Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, Derek Gilbert, former abductees Karen Wilkinson, and of course our good friend Al Matthews. Authors Alan DiDio, Vicky Joy Emerson, Tim Alberino, Josh Peck, Larry Rangley, and of course yours truly, Elia Marzulli. I'll also be doing at the very end a Q&A, live Q&A. So it's a virtual conference. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to drive anywhere. For $19.99, you can sign up. We will send you the link the day of or a couple of days ahead of time. You'll have up to 3 months to watch. But here's the deal. You need to get your family around this thing because it's coming down. Again, I go back to Discover. Are we alone? Nat Geo. What about Age of Disclosure, the film which has got everybody talking? What about all these news agencies? And it's coming down, folks. This is why we're doing the conference. January 16th and 17th. Deception 2026, deception2026.com, link below. Thanks for watching. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. That's why we, me and you and me, are on the trail of the Nephilim. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll be back again tomorrow with another show. Folks, Elia Marzulli here. What happens if our President Donald J. Trump makes an announcement from the White House. He looks right at the camera and he says, "We are not alone in the universe." How does that affect you? How does that affect your faith? How does that affect what you believe in? Folks, we have the answers that will shed light on this controversial subject. The Great UFO Deception Conference, Unmasking the Strong Delusion, January 16th and 17th. You'll hear from renowned experts like Gary Stearman, Mundo Gonzalez, Derek Hilbert, former abductee and author Karen Wilkinson, authors Alan DiDio, Vicky Joy Emerson, former abductee Al Matthews, Jim Alberino, Josh Peck, Larry Ragger, and of course, L.A. Marzulli. Arm yourself with the truth from a biblical perspective. Go to www.deception2026.com. That's www.deception2026.com. I'll see you there.